Welcome, everyone, to another Sounding Off podcast for Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. I am your host, Eddie Gonzalez, together with my co host in Crimea, Kevin Michelizzi. And on the podcast today, we have the Russian immigration attorney, Timur Beslangurov, who will tell us the latest that is happening in Russia regarding the immigrant visa. And I will bring these gentlemen on right now. And then later, guys, I have a special guest coming up as well. He's waiting in the wings at the moment, and he is an American wanting to visit Russia for the very first time. He's got a lot of questions. He's got a lot of some apprehension. Yeah, we'll talk through it and stuff. But very, very interesting podcast coming up tonight. Thank you so much. And welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Eddie. Timur.
Eddie,
Timur, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting.
You're so very welcome. And thank you for joining us. And so we have some folks out in YouTube land who are very anxious to know some information about President Putin's newly signed decree on the immigrant visa. And you, Timur, I will let you introduce yourself, but you are the immigration attorney in Russia when it comes to assisting foreigners and especially expats. I know from America and from Western countries. And so please tell us a little bit about yourself and then kind of bring us up to speed on what's been happening in the last few days here in Russia.
Yes, would be my pleasure, Eddie. Thank you very much for such an introduction. Yeah, I've been an immigration attorney from 2003 when I started the law firm. Yeah, I've been traveled quite a lot. I know a lot of immigration attorneys in the United States. I was the only Russian that was approved by AILA, American Immigration Lawyer Association, as a member. So yeah, we are quite experienced in immigration. With regards to the new decree, I will start from a bit history, maybe 3 years ago. And I think it was exactly 3 years ago when I read a small article in the Russian news saying that Russia wants to bring back 500,000 compatriots and those that moved out of the Soviet Union abroad, and Russia would like to bring them back. And I thought, yeah, that's a great idea because I already received requests from foreigners that would like to come to Russia. And we already had some clients, this Australian family, farmers that moved to Altai. And I already saw, because that was already COVID pandemic was already out there. And that's when I saw that Westerners would like to move to Russia because of those hard shutdowns and limitations that people experienced in their home countries. And people started to look on Russia. And I decided to make this project kind of bigger because, in my opinion, Russia became after the awful 90s, when unfortunately our country was on its knees, was becoming kind of becoming a normal country where it's comfortable to live, people treat each other with respect. Something which I remember when I was in 95, 96 as a sophomore student in South Dakota in America. At that time, America was, in my opinion, normal country, great country as always, but something went wrong along the way. And Russia now has become this country. And I was thinking to myself, why don't we invite to Russia like people that believe in traditional values, conservative families? Why don't we invite them? Because in the modern history of Russia and Russian immigration, we never had, as you correctly said, an immigrant visa. And I was for 3 years literally running around high cabinets as high as I could reach, presidential administration, Russian parliament, Russian government, and telling them, listen, things are changing. Yeah, let's adjust the legislation. People listened to me, and everyone pretty much was surprised. They said, we never thought about this, we never heard about this. Everyone wants to move out of Russia, especially after the special military operation. Said, no, more and more people will be willing to come to Russia. And so there is a lot of efforts, as you guys know, that has been put behind this new decree that finally happened. Many people on different levels of the government, the members of the Russian parliament, government, presidential administration, many were already kind of believing in this thing. Media did their job. You did your job. Yeah. So I think it's a joint, common, I would say, victory, honestly. Yeah. Because it serves the purposes on both sides. On the Russian side, because I think truly Russia would benefit from such laws, and people that would, some of them never been to Russia, would, I hope, find it a right place for them and their families. So coming closer to the decree, yeah, basically I think it's a revolutionary thing in the Russian immigration. I personally compare it to Catherine the Great decrees, when 260 years ago, Catherine the Great published decrees which made millions of Westerners move to Russia eventually. I compare that to that type of situation. I never read a decree that was written so clear and so perfectly understandable and so unsophisticated. Honestly, as a lawyer, when I read it, I was like, bravo, that goes beyond my expectations. Because when we tried to push some of the changes in the law, we were not that brave in our expectations. Yeah, we never thought that Russian language requirement would be dropped. Never in our bravest dreams. We thought at least to propose something like a green card lottery. Here, it's you have a passport of this particular country, you can apply. So basically, in a nutshell, what is the decree about? We all need to wait for the list of the countries that the Russian government would establish. Citizens of those countries would be able and eligible to apply for a so-called private visa. In its essence, as you, Eddie, properly said, it's an immigrant visa. Yeah, but it's called private.
Yep.
My personal opinion, it's just my opinion. Why it's not called immigrant visa? I think it's two reasons. Reason number one, if we call it immigrant visas, then we need to change quite a lot of other laws. Private visa already exists in Russian legislation. So I think the legislator said, okay, we'll just call it a private visa in order not to change other pieces of legislation. And number two, I think it kind of gives a bit more, how to say, less exposure, yeah, for foreigners that would like to move to Russia. And when they go through a passport control, having a Russian immigrant visa maybe would lead them to some troubles, maybe. Of course, we understand that already the whole world knows about that. Many media in the United States, in Germany already published that Russia adopted such a decree, but maybe there was such thinking behind, okay, let's not call it an immigrant visa, yeah. But basically, in its essence, it's an immigrant visa. What's important? You don't need an invitation from the Russian side at all. The decision to grant the visa is being made at the spot by the consular officials. Yeah. Actually, the decree basically says that it will be given by the decision of the ambassador. Yeah. In practice, of course, it won't be the, I would say, ambassador will not be meeting every person, making an interview, but in practice, in its essence, and the difference between Russian visa system and, for example, American visa system, as in Russia, as you know, the process of making of getting a visa, except for tourist visa, which is sometimes issued by a voucher. You have to go through the immigration officials here in Russia. You submit documents to them, they issue the invitation letter, and it's a preliminary check. It's a preliminary control. Yeah, so they check, okay, who's coming to Russia, they run the security checks, everything. And then the job of the consular officials is more or less formal. As soon as they get the invitation letter delivered to their embassy, for them all the rest is just a formality. So Russian consulates do not really make an interview or deny the visa. Yeah, it's not done on the consulate level, unlike in the United States, where basically you are standing in front of the window with a United States consular official, and he makes the decision whether to give you a visa or not. This visa is more similar to the United States system, when it's the consular officials that would make the decision. Probably there will be some background checks. We don't know how the system will fully work, because right now we understand that the Russian consulates, with all of the sanctions or what's going on, are blocked. I mean, there were 5 or 4 consulates in Germany. Now it's only 1, I think. Yeah. So Russian consulates have been closed in many Western countries, and of course, they are overwhelmed with amount of applications, specifically and especially from compatriots. Yeah, those say ethnic Russians that want to come back, and there are thousands of those people. So we don't know how it will work in practice, whether it will be possible to go through visa centers. Most probably not. But I think if the number of applications will be, the volume will be big, they will have to do something like that. Yeah. So that the visa service, these visa agencies accept the documents, they send it to the Russian consulate, then the interview is granted or the appointment is granted, something like this. But in essence, it's a 3-month immigrant visa. Once a person receives the visa, he should enter Russia. He has 3 months to do it. And within this 3 months, once he enters, he will have to do several things in order to apply for the 3-year temporary residency permit. And number 1, as we all know, is get a registration, address registration within 7 days, which is very important. Such person would need to do the medical tests and prepare all other documents required to file for the temporary residency. The major thing, as we discussed before, is that there is no more requirement to pass the Russian language, history, and law test. It's a major thing, to be honest. I mean, I think common sense prevailed. It's not required. I think that within the 3 months, it's totally possible. If you do your homework before you come, if you prepare all the documents that you need to bring with you in a proper way, if you on a timely manner request apostilled police checks, FBI checks, criminal record checks, if you come prepared, your application, you can file the application as we do with some of our clients when we properly plan. We file it within 2 weeks. So 3 months gives a lot of time and enough time to do it, especially that you don't need Russian language test. So again, my opinion, it's the best that ever happened in Russian immigration. There are people that say, listen, okay, we are opening something which will be terrible because there will be some of the immigrants that potentially are not welcome, because, okay, why do we first of all introduce this decree? Because we understand that in some of the Western countries, there are forces and there are people and there are citizens of those countries that are pushing this agenda, the woke agenda, the LGBT, and how do we stop those? Well, I think those people will not come to Russia. They hate Russia. Yeah, they are good where they are. Yeah, I don't think that anyone that is supporting this agenda will come to Russia. What for? I don't see this reason. Yeah, it's just a natural filter. Yeah, understandable natural filter. Okay, then potentially there are other people that are maybe not welcomed in Russia. mean, maybe some security services will use this. Hey, I trust our security services. Yeah, they would definitely know that. There should be some common sense, of course, into filtering. And I already wrote my proposals to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Russia and to some members of the Russian Parliament. But they're smart people. I think they understand everything. My opinion, I am not trying to be, I would say, creating problems, but my opinion, a normal private visa, 3-month visa, doesn't require an HIV test. I think it should be done here in this particular situation. Yeah, I think that a drug test should be done. We know the problem with drugs in the United States. Yeah. So,
Can you please repeat that, Timur, just to make sure that we all heard that about the test that you suggest that they have?
yeah, under the current Russian laws, any visa that you get, if it's the term of this visa is less than 1 year, you don't go through a pretty much internationally recognized or required HIV test. So if the visa that you get is shorter than 1 year, you don't need to pass the HIV test. For this particular visa, which is an immigrant visa, in its essence, my opinion, yeah, in order to kind of have some filters, you need to do this test. And again, as you know, Eddie, HIV test is not a deal breaker from the point of view of even applying for residency of temporary residency, but government has to be aware about that. Yeah, but the drug test, I think, is an essential thing of that. Yeah, it's a must, in my opinion, because if a person fails to do the drug test, yeah, as you know, even if you get Russian citizenship and you're caught on drugs, your Russian citizenship can be taken away from you for that thing. So people should right away understand. And plus, another important thing that I think has to be done is that basically this decree was, and it clearly states in the decree that in Russia we do have another presidential decree which imposed this, let's call it ideology for the my not very good English. I don't know how to say it as well, but there is another presidential decree which says Russia supports traditional values, and it's set by the presidential decree. So my opinion is that every foreign national that would like to get this visa has to read this decree in their own language, in American, in English, I don't know, in French, in German, and get himself acquainted. Okay, what are the rules for traditional values in Russia? Just literally read the decree based on which this immigrant visa decree is established, and sign it, and sign some affidavit, yeah, confirming that that person understands where he is going and what are the consequences if that person breaches any of those rules. That's an announcement.
So
Go
Timur,
ahead, Kevin.
so they're going to need all the same documentation that they would need for immigrating anyway, right? For a permanent or temporary residency.
Yeah, absolutely. Except, I mean, what's dropped is quota and Russian language. You need background check, you need marriage certificate, you need passport, you need birth certificates. All that homework has to be done, of course.
All apostilled.
All apostille.
I think you have a video about that on your Telegram channel, right? About what documents are needed.
Yeah, I already wrote a small, let's call it, how to properly call it, a small kind of instruction what needs to be done before you even think about that. Yeah, meaning that honestly, the decree is great, but if somebody wants to immigrate and believes that he's getting this visa, and as to the best of my knowledge, many would think, okay, we sell everything, we are ready to go, one-way ticket. But if your documents that you bring with yourself have inconsistencies, let's not call them mistakes, but have inconsistencies with the way the Russian immigration authorities would like to see them, that will be a problem. Yeah, if you come with documents which are not apostilled, they won't be accepted. If you come with the documents where there are inconsistencies in your name, That's a deal breaker. So that homework has to be done.
And background checks are still only good for 90 days, correct?
They are good for 90 days, but as you know, there is a way, official way, how to get those documents accepted, even if they expire. Russian immigration authorities, they understand that, and they say, okay, they will be accepted.
So we have a question from one of the viewers. So a foreigner gets this visa, they can stay here for 3 years, they don't need to learn Russian. How are they going to make a living here?
That's a very good question, honestly, because, for example, when we get clients on board, number one question that I ask is, do you have enough savings in order to support your family for at least 1 year before you will be able to learn Russian and find employment? I believe that I recently had this interview with a member of the Russian parliament, Maria Butina. Yeah. I think you know her, you met her personally. So, as you also guys know, recently, last 1 year, there was always a discussion between Russian politicians that, okay, we need to improve immigration legislation for the highly qualified specialists. I was always saying, listen, immigration legislation in Russia for highly qualified specialists is one of the best in the world, as the law is written. But it's just economic factors that don't match. Yeah. If we think that Russia is gonna be a heaven as it was from 2003 to 2014 for expats that have been here in Moscow, thousands of them, if not more, that's not gonna happen, at least for now. So what my opinion is that we need those that are not coming to Russia to make money, because right now it's not really possible. Yeah, our salaries are still lower. Okay, your spendings are lower, but our salaries are lower. And now when we don't have the big multinational corporations that will pay you this big of a salary plus give you a personal secretary, personal driver, personal translator, Russian employers will not give you that. So if somebody wants to come to Russia and make $10,000 a month, that's not going to happen. Okay, such companies exist, but it's okay, 10, 20 people. Yeah, or we wait until the ruble, $1 will cost 30 rubles. Yeah, then your, I don't know, 300,000 ruble salary becomes a $10,000 salary. Yeah, and then a lot of people will come. Yeah. But now my opinion is that people that are planning to come are not those that to make money. They're coming for different reasons. Yeah. Of course, it's important that a person relies for the first year, 2 years, to support his family on his, I don't know, savings, whatever. Yeah. Because without the Russian language, even though the requirement is dropped, it doesn't mean that Russian employers will employ you. Yeah. It's just obvious things. If you don't speak Russian, it's quite hard to find a job.
Well, in fact, it's hard to communicate with your plumber, your electrician, or anyone else you may need to have do work for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And also another thing, yeah, to reply to those, I don't know, virtual voices or real voices that say, no, that's bad. There will be so many illegal or unwelcomed immigrants. Well, Russia is a different country, unlike some European countries. Yeah, we don't pay any social benefits to immigrants. Yeah, so anyone that comes to Russia will need to rely on his personal abilities, funds that that person brings. We don't pay any payments as Germany does, or I don't know, not that familiar with American legislation, but we don't pay those social payments. It's another natural barrier.
Okay. So, what if a person is already in Russia on a private 3-year visa? Can they apply for this residency through this program, or do they need to get an updated visa and apply? Do they have to go to their home country and apply?
Well, it's a good question. My personal opinion, again, there is formality, and as you know, Russian laws are always formal, and then there is essence. My personal opinion that if you read the decree, and government officials always rely on something which is written so that they don't do anything incorrect. My personal opinion, you need to go through this filter of a new 3-month immigrant visa. It's my personal opinion. At the same time, I already thought about this thing, and we already started to create a list of people who are already in Russia, who immigrated before this decree came into force, and they still are in the process of getting their temporary residency permit. I don't know, learning Russian language, which now became very hard to pass. So we will create lists of those people and address authorities, basically saying, listen, those guys, it's not their fault that they made this decision before, and their decision is based on absolutely the same reasons and grounds that are stipulated by the decree. Yeah, it's not their fault. Don't make them exit Russia, change their visas, go again through this process of getting a 3-month visa just for the sake of a formality. Actually, I today have spoken with the head of immigration of one of the regions, not the head of immigration of the whole country, but one of the regions. He called me today at 8 a.m. and said, listen, this particular family, which is well known in our region, what's their status? I said, well, that's their status. Have they done the Russian language test? I said, they're still learning. I said, okay, what about this new decree? I said, well, they would be very happy if they would be the first one to apply and use this decree without going through the Russian language test. And he says, okay, and why not? I say, well, the way I read the decree is that they won't qualify because they need to have this 3-month private visa. He says, no, I don't think it will be the case. I'm pretty sure we will manage to get them temporary residency without leaving or changing their visa. I said, well, that would be great. We'll see. We'll see.
So we seem to have a lot of questions on this one. So let's throw this out
Go
there.
ahead.
Can a retired person come using this method? If they have a pension coming in, say, the United States or Western Europe, can they move here and take advantage of this?
Kevin, my personal opinion, as you know, when we as immigration lawyers, when we try to look at a particular person's case, we try to find the best solution. Yeah. Whether it's going through a quota. We don't take right now the compatriots, yeah, those that have Russian ties, wives, kids, yeah. We're speaking about people that have no ties with Russia. So we all the time play around with 2, 3, 4 different scenarios. Yeah, one of them, as you know, okay, let's try and apply for the quota. Another one, okay, let's try and use the residency by investment program. Okay, let's set up a company, employ yourself in that company, and get a 3-year highly qualified specialist visa. My opinion that this new decree, in a good sense, killed all those options. Just killed those options. So to answer the question, yes, it's possible. If you're a pensioner, if you are self-reliable, because if you rely on yourself, on the funds that you get as a pension from your home country, please, no problem. I don't see any issues with that. It literally eliminates all other immigration paths.
Okay. And we have a question is, will Russia accept the digital background checks from the FBI, or does it still need to be the paper version that's apostilled?
I never heard about digital checks from the FBI. It's still a PDF version. Yeah,
Right.
either original or a PDF version. I never heard about a digital FBI, but yes, of course, it has to be apostille.
And Bernd, if you need to get that, send me an email after the show. My email's in the about section of my YouTube channel, and I've got all the information on how you get that back from the PDF version to the United States and back again. Eddie?
And yes, we've got one more question. Let's go ahead and just put this one out there now. What is the minimum monthly pension required? I don't know if I understand this correctly.
What is it depends on which region you reside. Depends on the expenses that you'll have here in Russia. Yeah, in Moscow, if you choose to reside in Moscow, yeah, potentially your pension should be quite high. If you reside in a remote where the cost of living is lower, then your spendings are less. It's hard to answer this question from the point of view. I mean, maybe 2,000. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help. How much is the cost of living in Russia?
It
Well-
depends on where you live.
Yeah. I mean, I can live here in Crimea extremely well on a couple thousand US a month.
But you have your own house.
Yeah,
You're
and
not-
I built it using that. So, yeah.
Ah.
I don't think I could live in Moscow on that. I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah, it all depends on the person. Yeah, some can.
It depends on your lifestyle, where you want to live, location, as in all real estate matters, and what you expect. What type of lifestyle do you want to live? Yeah, certainly. Very good. For you guys in the live chat, if you have any other questions, please put them down in the comments. We have the immigration attorney from Russia with regard to immigrants, and we're talking about the newly signed decree by President Putin just this past Monday that sort of streamlines and makes it easier for people to immigrate to Russia than it was before. Before, it was very, very difficult. And now it seems that there is a path to do this, but it's going to require very good planning. And that's one of the questions that I would like to kind of subject I'd like to go in that direction, Timur. You mentioned earlier that if a person, say, in the United States, because we've got a lot of people watching in the United States, wants to apply for this immigrant visa once the protocol is announced and there is a pathway for it, they should not just go through the vetting, get their visa, but they don't want to just grab a visa, fly to Moscow or fly to whatever region they are in and just say, here I am, I'm ready to go. Because immigration is going to say, where's your FBI background check? Is it apostilled? Where's this document? Where's that document? Where's that? And many of these documents, they are probably still back in the United States. So what are some of the things that people can start to do to plan now if this is something they want to do, say, in the next 4, 5, 6 months or less? What would you suggest?
Well, again, I will, as I mentioned before, I wrote kind of an instruction, a description on what needs to be done. Prayer, departure, things, and then post-arrival, what to expect. I will share that document. I'll send it to Kevin, to you, so that you can send it out. Yeah. In general, again, what needs to be done? Number one, you need to ensure that your personal documents are in order. What does that mean? Russia is very, very strict on formalities, unlike many, many other countries. Yeah. Which means that, give you several examples. In the United States, to the best of my knowledge, in different states, the legislation is different. So when two people get married, they get the marriage certificate as a document confirming that they're married. In some states, and I think there are very few of those states, where this marriage certificate, marriage license, yeah, has a line which says last name after marriage. Yeah, so there's maiden name, and then there is wife's name, wife's last name, husband's last name. Yeah, but there is no, as you know, in Russia there is, okay, what is the last name of the wife after she got married, whether she takes husband's last name or whether she doesn't. In most of the states there is no such line where that can be even typed. Yeah. And then what happens? Okay, if wife takes husband's last name, we saw cases when the wife doesn't even change her passport to the new husband's last name. Situation number one. Situation number two, when the wife changes her passport, and then they come to Russia and they think, well, common sense says that if I changed my passport to my husband's last name, this means that it happened because our last names are same. This means that I changed it when I got married. Well, guess what? For the Russian immigration authorities, and by the essence of the Russian law, passport is not a reflection of the legal act that happened. Legal act that happened was the marriage, and passport is only a reflection and a document which was issued on the legal act. Of course, Russians are not stupid, meaning the Russian immigration, of course, they understand that, but they are, how to say, they are picky in order to say, okay, no, but we need to definitely understand why you changed your last name and when it happened, what exact date, and how it's reflected by the documents. So there are other situations. When you get your FBI background check, sometimes, I don't know, for whatever reason, your middle name is shortened to a one letter. That's a problem. Sometimes, especially with people that I don't know how to properly say, the child has, when the child was born, the birth certificate has one name, and the passport has, I don't know, the middle name missing or again shortened to one letter. That's all problems. So at first, what the person needs to do, needs to literally look in all of his documents, birth certificate, marriage certificate, passport, and see if they are okay. If the names are everywhere written similarly, that's number one. If you not sure how to react, and if you see the problem, then you can, try and reach out to the immigration lawyer and see, okay, how is the Russian immigration will deal with that, yeah, and get the proper advice. Then you, of course, do the apostille of those documents. Do not need to be apostilled. It's birth certificates, marriage certificate, criminal records that needs to be apostilled. We don't need higher education diplomas. We don't need university diplomas. That's all irrelevant for immigration. It's just personal documents: marriage, birth, criminal records. very rarely divorce, documents. Some court decisions. Sometimes there are court decisions establishing a certain fact that the person changed the name. Naturalization documents. If you at first were born, say, in one of the country, then you moved to, I don't know, United States, and in your country of your birth, you've been born with one name. When you were not naturalized in the United States or Canada, your name has changed. It's important to get the document. Sometimes it doesn't exist, but it's important to get the document which shows that your name has been changed. And all of those documents have to be apostilled. So that's what needs to be done. And then, request the police checks, get prepared, think about how to sell your house, how to move money, all those things. That's pre-departure things to be done. Upon arrival, or even before you arrive, you need to understand where you reside, not the region, but you literally need to find a place, because you only have 7 days upon arrival to get registered. And in Russia, 9 out of 10 landlords would not register you. It's important to find a proper landlord that will agree to register you. That's very important.
I would like to interject right here and just say that I completely agree with that. That is one of the reasons that I stress that if this is something that you, as a family member or person in a Western country, in America, think that you might want to do one day, and you've never been to Russia before, that you come visit first on a tourist visa and come and explore so that you can get an idea of where you would like to live. You could establish a budget for that and make arrangements ahead of time, as Timur was saying, because you've only got 7 days. So think about it,
In a hotel.
plan it out, and come visit. Yes, or a hotel. Absolutely.
Yeah, but when you were saying about tourist visa, of course, if you come on a tourist visa and you stay in the hotel, then no problem. Hotel will register you. But as you were properly saying, come first, ideally, look around, establish, as you said, a proper landlord, which is, as you understand, quite hard. If the landlord says, okay, I'm ready to lease, pay the lease now. I'm not going to wait until you pack your things. But long-term stay with a landlord or with a flat or apartment requires, that's very essential, that the landlord registers.
And speaking of properties, we have a question here. Can you settle and purchase property anywhere, I guess, in Russia on this visa, like border areas or Crimea?
You can purchase property in Russia on any visa. As long as you are legally in Russia, you can purchase property in Russia on a tourist visa, on an e-visa, on this visa. That's not a problem. The problem is that you cannot purchase as a foreigner agricultural land, or you cannot purchase property which is located in bordering areas. And maybe even Kevin would be able to add to this, because I know, most of the clients that come to us are obsessed about Sochi, which I honestly don't like, even though that I'm from that originally area. But once I've been to Crimea, I fell in love in Crimea. But I haven't looked into the legalities of owning land in Crimea. I honestly don't know what part of the Crimea is considered bordering areas. But the whole Russian Black Sea coast, which is not Crimea, from, let's say, Tamань down to Sochi, in those cities, foreigner cannot own house because it sits on the land, which is a bordering area. Also, what's important is that when we say about agricultural land, it's not only agricultural land for farming, it's also about so-called dachas. Because how the, say, Moscow, whatever, and probably Eddie, whatever is outside of Moscow as a municipality, okay, huge city, but it's kind of municipality, yeah. Whatever those fancy cottage villages are outside of Moscow, they are all built on formally agricultural land. The SNT, whatever they are called, but it's agricultural land. For Russians to buy property there is no problem, but for foreigners, no, because the land is agricultural. So you pretty much need to look into that quite thoroughly. But the visa is not connected. It's more of a area and the land itself.
Very good. Very good. Gentlemen, I would like to bring in our other special guest. He's Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we've got a bunch of questions out here. Crimea, the entire peninsula is borderland. You cannot buy property in Crimea unless you're a citizen.
Okay.
So,
I
Timur,
Go
we've
ahead.
got a question here. When they come here and register, can they use a hotel address on this visa
Yes.
as their registered address?
Yes. As long as, but hotels register only for the term that you actually reside in the hotel, yeah?
Yeah. So they would have to live there for 3 months if they wanted to use it for immigration, right? Or they can't use it for immigration purposes.
No, they can. We
Okay.
even applied people for investor visas for permanent residency, not even for temporary residency, but for permanent residency as investors with a hotel registration. It's possible.
And this is kind of an important one. If somebody has obtained asylum status in Moscow, they already hold it, they're living in Moscow, can they apply for this visa?
Again, Chantel, we think that it will be fair for the Russian authorities to allow that to happen. And I was mentioning 20 minutes ago about a client that has the same status as you do. And the head of immigration of that particular region asked, should we use this decree? I said, if you can do it, that would be great. So my opinion is that if the government by itself or immigration authorities are not thinking in a way, okay, let's allow those people that are here, drop off the formalities of getting this 3-month private visa, and just let's allow them to apply for residency without a quota and without a language test, I think that, okay, we'll do our best to make that happen. That's why we're building this list. And Chantel, you're on this list as well.
Okay. So those of you who've asked questions that Eddie and I can answer without Timur, we will address those later because Timur's on a limited time frame, and we do have a guest standing by as well. So do you want to take these questions that require Timur, or do you want to let Luke in first?
Well, actually, I wanted to let Luke in because he's got some questions that he wanted to ask Timur. So while we have him on here.
That.
The only problem is I'm going to bring Luke on the stage here, but he's having some technical difficulties with his camera. But we do have audio. Luke, can you hear? Can you hear us?
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we sure can. Thank you and welcome.
Great.
And we will dispense with an introduction for now. And just go ahead with your question for Timur. Go ahead.
Again, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure meeting with you all today. And yes, I am an American here in the States, and I have a Russian girlfriend I met when I was traveling a few years ago. We continue to chat via Telegram, WhatsApp, Skype, whatever system seems to be working at the time. From what I understand, and I could be wrong on this, there's been some limitations on different forms of communication back and forth for people there. But as I reached out to Eddie a while ago, and actually a few days ago, and it was immediately got a response from it. I was very happy to see that. But trying to find out, how her and I can take it to the next step, because again, we have been, in a relationship for a few years now, and wanting to make it, I guess, even more enhanced, where we're actually physically with each other, doing things together, traveling with each other, so forth. But yet I know there's complications with Russian people or citizens wanting to come to the States due to all the stuff going on in the world right now. But then also for an American wanting to come and visit, there's always that hair on the back of your head that seems to want to go up, because over here with the news, and Eddie and Kevin, you probably know what I'm talking about, there's a lot of crap put into the news, part of my language, the best way to say it, that may not be the truth. It may not be completely accurate with what they're trying to say, or maybe just a small portion of accuracy in there. But you see the people from America that have been tried and put into prison and so forth, all for reasons. I mean, all of them are good reasons. If somebody's there with illegal substances in another country, yes, they should be prosecuted. If somebody's there because they're a spy, yes, they should be prosecuted for that, just like they would be here in the States. But for somebody just wanting to come there, it gives that person, and again, they may have perfectly innocent intentions. They want to go there just to meet with somebody, learn about the culture, see the different sites and things
Come
there.
as a tourist, in other words.
Come as a tourist, are still worried. So I guess my question for Timur is, if I wanted to take that step and travel to where she is to visit with her and, again, continue to build on our relationship, I want to be able to do it knowing in my heart and deep in my mind that everything's going to be fine. After so many weeks or months that maybe I'm there, it's easy for me to be able to travel back home or be able to travel back and forth. So that way we can continue to grow on, and hopefully within time here and change of administration coming up in the next, 70 days, I think is when our election is, things may get ironed out and there's travel allowed again then between Russia and the United States.
Well, my opinion, and I think Eddie and Kevin can add to that as well, there are no issues for an American to be inside the country from the point of view of daily life. There is nothing that you will be exposed to, attacked. I mean, moreover, people, when they know that you're an American, would be interested to speak with you, etc., etc. The only concern that I have to say is when you go through the border control.
Yes.
Because there is random checks. We have clients that go 5 minutes, no questions. We have clients that go 4 hours. But it's impossible to, there is no remedy, there is no advice. The only advice is do whatever those people tell you. If they want to look into your phone, you have to show your phone. Yeah.
Yes.
I not really heard of cases when people were denied to enter Russia, but I heard cases when people received hard times. Like,
yes.
Okay, 4 hours, different questions. They look through your phone. If you have nothing to hide, there is nothing to be afraid. It's unpleasant sometimes experience, but it's, as always, 50-50. Once you're in Russia, I don't think if you behave okay, if you don't get yourself specifically in trouble, you will not gonna want to leave. My opinion.
Well, just from what little bit I've seen with Eddie's YouTube channel and pictures and videos that she has sent me, I mean, it's a beautiful looking country. There's a lot of things over there that I wish we still had here in the States. For instance, when Eddie did a video not that long about, we're going to the mall. We don't have malls really anymore here. They're all dying and getting closed and everything. So just seeing a lot of the older culture things that we enjoyed when we were younger as kids still going on there. It just seems like a very beautiful place. Not only that, over the years of stuff I've been involved with, I've interacted with Russian people, Ukrainian people, Polish people, whoever it be. All are very, very kind-hearted people. They've all been very nice every single time. And again, that's another reason why I want to go over there. But again, there's always that little bit of a hair on the back of your head that, makes you wonder, is everything going to be okay, is what it comes down to. So That's pretty much like where the questions are I have right now. And then I've been listening to in the background here with all the conversation you're having about applying for the tourist visa, because that's another issue is like the language. There's a gigantic language barrier there. So I'm trying to learn the language, and Eddie's been great to send me a bunch of links to different sites to start learning it from. And I probably know about 10, 12 words right now, which I'm sure is not anywhere near enough, but I want to continue to learn that. So when if things do be able to progress, I'm able to come over there, understand what people are saying, have good communication, and be able to talk to her as well with no issues and go from there, because who knows what will happen to me. Maybe I end up applying for residency down the road.
Oh, absolutely. And so you're doing the right thing. You're planning, you're asking the right questions, and that's what's going to make your eventual trip to Russia much more smooth and enjoyable in the long run. I tell you what, Luke, if you will hang on just a second,
Sure.
We've got some questions that deal directly with this immigrant visa, and we would like to see if we could get Timur to hang on for just a few minutes. Kevin, do you see something that you want to ask right quick?
Oh, yeah, we've got a whole list here. Timothy, I'll get to your question. Here's one for you, Timur. Jay qualifies for basically the repatriation program, which he's got on the screen there. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm.
Yeah.
But
so there are pros and cons for compatriots using the repatriation program. Yeah, there are some good pros and some really bad cons. Good pros are two. Number one is that you're entitled to bring a lot of personal belongings. For whatever reason, Russian customs think that they are goods. Yeah, you can bring up to 5 tons free of charge without paying €4 per kilo if you qualify and get this compatriot certificate. Number two, you can bring a car without paying the utilization fee, which is sometimes is 1.5 million rubles plus custom fees, etc. So these are the two good things about this. And then there is another thing. If you qualify for this program, you can get your Russian citizenship within 3 months after arrival, because you get your certificate that you are compatriot, relocating to Russia. As soon as you come to Russia, all you need to do is register and you submit documents for the Russian citizenship. You get your Russian citizenship in 3 months. So these are the pros of the program. And the cons we all know. Yeah, it's just really bad. But if you did qualify, then it's all good. So the decree compared to this program in the beginning allows you to skip all those, in my opinion, very bad and stupid requirements. Choose the region, prove, etc. So the decree eliminates that, but your route to citizenship will be much longer. It will be very long.
okay, and what are the restrictions on travel and moving within Russia with a new visa? So if you arrive in Moscow, are you stuck there for 3 years, or to be able to relocate? I'm going to guess part of this is once you start the process for the residency, I assume it's now you're in that region.
Yeah, okay, let's divide. This 3-month visa will be Moscow with single entry because it will be immigrant visa. Once you enter, cannot exit. Okay, then you apply for temporary residency permit in the particular region that you have chosen. My opinion that even though that there is no quota, but if you apply in Moscow, you will have to reside in Moscow until you get your permanent residency. Because permanent residency allows you to choose any place in Russia. So what's the time until you can get your permanent residency? The law says the following. You apply for temporary residency, in 4 months, you should get your temporary residency. Then you should reside in this particular region for 8 months before you are eligible to apply for permanent residency. In another 4 months, you get your permanent residency, and then you are free to choose any region. There are exceptions when you can move from a particular region based even on a temporary residency. Is if you buy an apartment or a house, real estate in another region, and it belongs to you, then you can change the region still based on a temporary residency. So to answer your question, you will be stuck most probably in that region for at least a year and a half on a temporary residency until you get your permanent.
And so, on temporary residency, can you work or start a sole proprietorship on a temporary residency permit?
Yes, once you get the temporary residency permit, you can be employed without a work permit, or you can register individual entrepreneur or sole proprietorship.
Okay. So I'm skipping anything that doesn't require you, Timur, because I know you asked us for an hour and we don't want to push your time too much. Is there a time limit on the apostille of birth certificates and marriage certificates, like
No.
the background check?
No, Derek, there isn't.
And Timur, someone wants to know if we can leave your contact information or where they can
Sure.
find you. I have Timur's phone number, his email, and his Telegram channel. Are you okay with me giving some of those or all of those?
Yeah, no problem. Whatever way is easier for you guys to reach out to me, I'll be happy to answer. But if I don't answer within a day, it's not that I'm, let's say, from the moment the decree came into force, I have 150 requests. I'm still behind. Sorry.
And from what Tim tells me, when he sees you in your office, you've got stacks and stacks of applications you're going through and dealing with.
Tim exaggerates, but they're mostly in the computer. Yeah, it's just a mess. He thinks it's application document, but it's just a mess sometimes. I would say.
Okay. Can somebody use a naturalization certificate if they don't have their original birth certificate? Or if their birth certificate's not in English?
Well, again, birth certificates are needed when a person from the Russian side are needed when a person wants to apply for citizenship. If there is no birth certificate, if something is wrong with the birth certificate, etc., let's say it's okay to get you to the stage of permanent residence, yeah, which some lawyers do, and they don't ask questions. Okay, where is your birth certificate? How it looks? What was your name there, etc., etc. But that will lead into problems if a person would like to get citizenship in Russia, because birth certificate is the document when it's required only at the citizen. So my answer to that would be that naturalization until you reach temporary residency, permanent residency, let's say, is enough. Yeah, your passport is enough without a naturalization document. But if we look long term and if we advise properly, no, it's not enough. If you want Russian citizenship, no, it's not enough. You need to put your papers in proper. It doesn't matter how old it is. Literally, it doesn't matter how old it is. It's just that if you want to make things right, you need to make them right in the very beginning.
Okay.
Very good. Do you have any other questions, or can we?
We have, let me find it again. We have, I'm not sure what burnt means by How does a person get on that list? Do you starred that one, Eddie? Do you know what Bernd was talking about at the time?
I do not, and if I started, I think I may have done it by
Bernd,
accident.
I will reply you in a personal message because I received the same question in Telegram. I'll
Perfect.
reply to you in Telegram.
Okay. We've got a bunch of other questions here from our audience members, but they are things that Eddie and I can answer. So,
Yeah,
Timur,
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
we
Timur,
appreciate
Thank
you
you
coming on
so
the
much.
show.
Yep. And we will have all your contacts and your links also in the description on our YouTube.
Okay, Kevin, I will send you literally right away, right now, this document that I prepared, so that, I mean, if needed, you can use it in any way that you'd like.
Okay, I will put it on my Yandex disk, and I will put that link in mine and Eddie's descriptions so that people can access it.
Okay? Send.
Perfect.
In Telegram.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Timur.
I have it, Timur. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, thanks. A big, excuse me, a big thanks to Timur for his timely information and for his time as well. But there are a bunch of questions that I know that we can handle. And also we can talk a little bit more with Luke because I believe there are a lot of Americans, especially, and folks maybe in Western countries who may have the same apprehensions that Luke does. But before we go on, if you're in the live chat, please do us a favor and write down where you're watching from, what country, what state, what region of the world. I think it would just be really cool because I've seen some people talking about Brazil, some folks talking about India. So let us know where you're watching from. And I would like to take this opportunity before we move on that I just wanted to say, guys, from the last live that we did when we first broke this news on Monday, I have been inundated with direct messages, with texts, with messages on YouTube, with questions and questions and questions. And I want to answer everyone's questions, but it's getting to the point where I spent like 8 hours each day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, just trying to answer questions. And it just got to the point where I really, really couldn't do it. So I want to announce that I have created a service. And this is something that I had been thinking of wanting to do for quite a while. And I think the time came to me to do this. And I have created a service, and I have named this service WorryFree Russia. And there's a website, there's the URL, worryfreerussia.com. And what this website is all about, it's live right now. You can go to it, but just wait till this podcast's over before you run over there. But you can ask questions, and you can book a free 15-minute free consultation with me. You've got dedicated time with me to ask your questions. If you would like assistance with maybe visa preparation, application preparation, booking a hotel, booking flights, looking for properties, anything like that, and you would like my undivided attention, I have a couple of options for 1 hour and 3 hours that you can take advantage of. And I'm also offering a personal concierge service so that if you do visit Russia and you do have some apprehensions about showing up at the airport and not really knowing the language, not knowing how to get around, and you'd rather have a trusted face then I can provide that personal concierge service to you, escort you, meet you at the airport, escort you to the hotel, get you situated, maybe get you a SIM card, get you money exchange, things of that nature. If you're interested in that and interested in that type of information, head over to worryfreerussia.com, and I'd be more than happy to help as many people as I can. And I've even gotten some questions, Kevin, about moving money, because this is an issue as well,
Yep.
from the
We've
U.S.
got that in our
And,
list. Yeah.
and Kevin has a service that he provides for that. Do you have that link here as well for it, Kev?
I do. And well, actually, I put my Telegram channel. I didn't.
I see it there.
Tita, me. Okay, so if you need to move money, you can contact me on Telegram right here. That's my personal Telegram channel. You cannot call me on it. I do not accept random calls because, like Eddie, I get lots of random questions and people who waste time. And this is one of the reasons why people like Eddie and I do start charging people. I normally made people do a similar thing as to Eddie. If you want advice from me, you want time, a good way to do it is go to boosty.com. The link is in my description, and set up a time with me. So I'll do a one-on-one session with you for a small charge. I do not provide all the services Eddie does. We do money transfers, and if you choose to immigrate to Crimea, Crimea and Krasnodar do things a little differently than Moscow does. We can get you with the right people. We can set you up with a place to stay, place to get registered, and we can make the appointments, get you to those appointments. We can, do the interpreting for you, but we do charge for all of those services.
Thank you, Kev. And also, you're running a special, are you not, with regard to American villages?
And let me. Oh, we got a question about the villages here somewhere. I don't know. We've got such a list of questions right now. But if you are interested in the American village in Istra, Russia, which is northwest of Moscow, just a little ways away, a couple hours commute, I think it is. If you contact Tim Kirby on his Telegram channel, at Tim Kirby Russia is his Telegram. And I guess I could put that on the screen. Tim Kirby Russia or American Villages.ru. If you contact Tim through one of these and you let him know that you are interested in the village and you make a commitment to him to purchase property in the village or purchase a home, and this plays to a couple questions we had. Somebody asked about living in a rural community. Somebody else asked about, land for producing food. The American village in Istra is a rural community, and you can buy property there. Timur will do the immigration process. It's another option for immigration where you don't need the quota, and they can ease things like that. And it comes with a piece of land, and you can grow food for yourself there. You cannot grow food or raise animals for sale, but you can have chickens and goats or whatever you want. But if you mention it to Tim and you make a commitment to the village and you need to get your money to Tim, to pay for your property, your down payment, or whatever. I was running this through the end of August, but since we're at the end of August, 3 people have taken advantage of this already. But I have now made this until the end of sales for, let me get rid of that, till the close of sales of the American Village. Tim had 20 properties. He's got 17 left. When they're gone, this deal goes away. So basically, you'll pay 1.5% for my services to move your money to Tim. But you have to make the commitment to Tim, and then Tim will let me know this is the person that wants to do it. We've prepared the paperwork, or we are starting to prepare the paperwork. And then even if it takes you 6-8 months to get to the point where you need to send him money, I will still honor this sale.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk with Luke here, because I think there are a lot of folks that are in the same boat, so to speak. They want to come to Russia. They're really, really serious and thinking about this immigrant visa. But of course, Kevin and I both strongly advise people to come visit Russia first. So going along that lines, Lou, what are some of the apprehensions you have besides the thought of being arrested on the spot for having a U.S. passport?
Well, I mean, it's just, like you and I had spoken in private back a while ago when we first started talking. Past jobs, I guess is the best way to say it, without getting too open here, and not because I don't trust you all. It is the internet. So,
Sure.
Is that going to be a thing? Because again, that's something that pops up that I've noticed on some of the things that go on in the news. So, that is one of my jobs is listed on my license, or a former job is listed on my license. So is that going to become a red flag to somebody?
Well, we're gonna answer that question because I think I know exactly where you're headed, and both Kevin and I have backgrounds where we worked for the government in sensitive positions.
Yes.
And I will tell you that when you fill in the application for the visa, it's going to ask if you've had any military service, if you've had any training or specialized training in weapons or weaponry, and it's going to ask, I think, if you've ever served in combat, if I'm correct. Yeah. I think that's one of the questions. But
okay.
I've answered those questions. I'm retired law enforcement after 30 years. I have experience with weaponry. No problems, no questions, none whatsoever. Kevin has even more specialized training. Why don't you take a stab at that, Kevin?
Well, yeah, I was in a very sensitive position in the Department of Defense as a contractor, and I know my good friend in Moscow, he's a Russian citizen and former U.S. military guy when he was living in the United States. Stas, I always screw up Stas's last name. You know who I'm talking about, Eddie?
I know who you're talking about.
Stipin.
I can't remember his last name either.
Yeah, but anyway, he said Kevin was Snowden 2.0, so somebody at a much higher level. So I was flattered, but I actually worked in propaganda for the United States against Russia, and I successfully came here. So what I had is, this was before the special military operation, all that. I did not come to get away from the United States. I'm going to repeat what Dan Castle already says. don't run away from something, run to something. But I came here. I was questioned by the FSB about my intentions, my background, things like that. I had to go in front of an intelligence commission and explain my background, my thoughts, and what I felt about the fact that the United States did not recognize Crimea as part of Russia. Today, with a military background, you will likely spend more time at the border while you're questioned by the FSB. Some people get 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours of questioning because they want to make sure you're not a spy. They want to know that you're honestly coming here. They will ask to see, they'll want to see your telephone, show your social media accounts, see what you post, and what your views are on Russia versus our neighboring country. So they will look into all of this naturally because we are at war with the United States. It isn't a big deal. I don't know hardly anyone who has been stopped at the border and turned around.
Never been stopped. Been stopped.
You know, I get a lot of questions lately after Eddie and I did this stream Monday about guys like Scott Ritter. If I take my passport and I've got a Russian visa in it and I go to Russia, will they arrest me, A, when I'm getting on the plane, or B, when I get back? It's very unlikely. Guys like Scott Ritter are extremely vocal with extremely large audiences, and they have crossed a few lines, the red lines that they shouldn't have. Now, you know, I know guys like Larry Johnson, former CIA, flies back and forth to Russia all the time, never gets stopped. So it really kind of depends on, you know, are you speaking out against the United States or Europe or wherever you're coming from or not? Are you a journalist? Are you publishing content? Are you accepting gifts from, you know, Russian agencies? You know, I am very aware of the things that get you in trouble. So like when I am on RT International, Russia Channel 1, and I speak about my background, I never accept a payment from them. I never accept gifts. So you just have to use a little common sense and you won't have an issue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And the Russian government, they'll question you when you come in. And when you apply, you may get questioned again. You know, you may end up in front of this commission, but they won't hold it against you. I know personally several former intelligence people living here in Russia, a couple of them in Moscow, talk to them all the time.
Yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely. I know a former Special Forces operator, retired military, living here in Russia, in Moscow, and American citizen, now has Russian citizenship as well. So you may get questioned, you may not. And the thing is just to be honest, be upfront. I've had police come to my flat. This was after I applied for my temporary residency because they wanted to vet that I lived in the flat that I said I did. And they wanted to speak to my neighbors. They wanted to talk to me. They wanted to ensure that my marriage to my wife was legitimate. And before we left, me and the police officer were really good friends because, you know, blue is blue, Luke, you know that. And so, we bonded. Yeah, I've got his phone number. He's got my phone number. We've already talked a couple of times, looking to go and maybe enjoy a cold one day. So, hey, man, just play it cool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy I talked to, he's a Russian citizen. I've got a picture of him with Lavrov. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, we're talking about the same
I-
person. Okay.
I would want to meet Lavrov myself, but I've never made it that far up the food chain.
Yeah.
I made it to the Duma.
That's higher than me. So,
Well, like I was saying, there's just always that, for somebody new, and I'm sure you all experienced it too, the hair on the back of the head saying, "Hey, is everything going to be all right?" Because again, you both know, just going on any American news outlet or whatever, we don't even know what's the truth anymore. We don't even know what's being told to us is correct with what's going on in the world. I mean, I know there was a journalist and just came over there when Tucker Carlson came over there, and after sitting down with Putin and talking to him and saying, hold on a second, and I listen to his podcasts too all the time, he even says, wait a second, there's another side to this. It's not just what's being told here on our news channels. There's a whole nother side to it. And again, we don't hear that. So that's where that fear or skepticism comes in, saying, hey, is everything going to be okay? Because again, my purposes for going there are just simply, again, visit, be a tourist, see the places, meet up with her, and start to develop more of the relationship and so forth. So again, the hairs are still there, but again, talking to people like yourself, and then I'm sure I'm going to be in touch with Timur, I think is his name.
yes.
I'll start to be able to actually calm those down and be able to feel comfortable about when I do travel to come there and visit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think Eddie will agree with me on this statement. Everybody should hire an immigration attorney when they come here. Timur is one of the best. The paperwork and stuff takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of knowledge about what you're filling out. And guys like Timur are cheap. You would be surprised how cheap they are. I don't
Compared
know how
to American legal system. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know how Timur feeds his family, because he will give advice, which is why he has such a backlog of giving advice, and he doesn't charge people for it. It isn't until he actually starts doing the work that he charges. And then it's usually a fixed fee. I have a second firm that I can refer people to as well that I work with. And, so if you need referrals like that, let me know. Both of them are in Moscow.
My experience with the immigration attorney was that I didn't want to have to go through all this paperwork, go to this immigration center, Saharova, just for someone to tell me something's wrong, you need to fix it, and then come back.
Yes.
And it was worth the time and the effort to meet with an attorney, and they go through everything. And I'm talking about dotting the I's and crossing every T, literally, because if there's a minute mistake like that, they will not accept it. So to me, it was worth it. I've got a comment here for you. I don't know if you saw it. This is from Burned, and he once said, Luke, dude, y'all just come down here. Okay, it's normal. I've actually had a conversation with a Russian police officer, which is better, the Kadov or the Smith and Wesson. And yeah, man, these guys are cool. These guys are cool, man. You treat them with respect. Stand up straight, look them in the eye, and they'll look you right back, man. And you'll be walking away as friends. Trust me.
Yep. And while it's on top of my mind, Knox said 1206, mute, Jayanta Chowdhury. We will get to your question. Continually posting your question over and over and over does nothing but flood the chat, so we lose people's questions. Ask once, we will get to them.
We've got 31 questions started, and we're going to get to them right now.
So I did want to say something based on your comment, Luke, about the stuff you hear in the West. This was my business. I can tell you that you should take 85% of what you see, hear, and read in mainstream media, news, social media, and throw it away. It's false. The Department of Defense calls it perception management. It's just a fancy term for propaganda. Now, the Department of Defense, when they define it, says it's to use against foreign citizens, against their governments, but the United States government uses it against United States citizens.
Wow. That's the thing, and I'm sitting here and I see some of the comments in the live chat that are going on. And there was one where a person had mentioned about apprehension as a big warning flag. Take a few months, come there, visit, and let your impression mature. And then, of course, hopefully that helps me mature into the understanding of what it's really like over there. And, it's Eddie and I talked the other day briefly, and we've been chatting back and forth through Messenger as well. And I agree 100% with you. I honestly don't even watch the news really anymore. It's gotten to be just a gigantic gripe session. It seems like a bunch of little teenage kids talking and complaining about everything. So I don't even want to watch it anymore. But I mean, you're all right. Everyone's right. It's just a matter of taking that leap. I guess it's the same thing when you buy your first new house, your first new car. You're always going to have that apprehension at first. Sure. And then once you do it, you're like, hey, that wasn't so bad. Everything's fine. But no, I'm going to, continue to talk with you all and in the future to come and with Timur and start trying to move this process forward in order to be able to come over and visit and see the country and also be with the person that I happen to love and she loves me, and we'd like to take it to the next level. So it's just, it's going to be a learning experience. Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. You're not alone here. There is, like I said, we had talked about this. I think we had talked about it. I've talked to so many expats in the past few days that I get my conversations confused, but there is a very good expat community, American expat community in Moscow, I'm sure in other areas of Russia as well. It's a tight group. Would you agree with that, Kevin? And we'd like not only Americans, there's just people from the UK, from Germany, from Ireland, all over the place, South America, Mexico, Cuba, can name several. And
are you talking about help? Yeah, are you talking about our community in general, or are you
in
talking
general?
about
not just YouTubers, but in general? Yeah. I know a lot of expats from all over the world that are here in Moscow area, and let me tell you, man, they'll give you the shirt off their back. Really great folks.
Yep.
Well, the other thing too, and Eddie, you and I spoke about this the other day briefly in one of our conversations, that there's a huge misunderstanding here. And Kevin, you can probably 100% agree with this, with what the impersonation is that us here in America have about Russian people or about Eastern Bloc people or about Eastern Europe people. There's a complete, total representation of what they are. And I just know from my prior jobs and things I did with the government as well, and being with her now, they are a very loving people. They are a very giving people. They're straight up and honest. And I constantly give her flack about it because, she'll say to me, she'd say, "Luke, I'm Russian," and what she means by that, and you both probably understand what I'm talking about, they're just very straightforward, very, I don't want to say don't have feelings, but just don't hide their, I guess their expression. They just, it's right there. It's as organic as it can be. And here we always get,
they're rather matter of fact.
Yeah. And here in the States and other places are always getting, the commies and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And it's just like, you have no idea what you're talking about, or they think when an American guy meets a Russian woman, or an American woman meets a Russian guy, it's a complete mail order bride or mail order groom type situation, or the 90-day fiance thing. And they don't realize that that's not it at all. Now, does that happen? Yes, that does happen. But there is other ways people meet. And it just happens that, it might be from an area that everyone has this stipulation about them. So it's too bad.
No, absolutely.
The truth doesn't really get out there.
Yeah, a lot of the perceptions that Americans have with regard to Russians comes from Hollywood, from how Russians have been depicted in Hollywood, in movies, and then of course the mail order bride stuff of the 90s, things like that. But it's
I mean, the Russians are always the bad guys. It's the good movies. So,
yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So,
tell you what, Kev, let's attack some of these questions right here. Oh, hang on. William Nipper, thank you so much for the super chat. And hi, everyone. I should be in Russia now, but unfortunately I have a 16 millimeter kidney stone that needed to be removed, and I didn't have any more PTO left. My wife has some concerns, as Luke has. Yes, William, you're not the only one. She's not the only one. And that's why we do these kind of lives. That's why we do. We want to show that Russia and Russians are just as human and as loving and as compassionate as you are, and you allow yourself to be. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, William. Appreciate that.
And if I might interject about just what you had just said about being loving and compassion, the one thing I will say is that I think one of the biggest hurdles that I experienced with her, and I'm only saying her because, nothing against Eddie or Kevin, but she's just as concerned and worried about something happening to her as well because of dialogue back and forth between the states and so forth. So that's why I don't want to use any of her real information yet. But anyway, when you first meet, there's a gigantic barrier there, not only with language, and I'm not just speaking about my part, but just seeing this in general, but also in cultures. What we may do here in the States, they may find offensive, or the slang that we're all accustomed to from being Americans, they don't understand that, or it comes across as an insult or a completely different way. And one of the worst things about that is if people think, oh, I'll just use Google Translator. That also can screw things up. And, you go to say something and it's completely opposite of what you're trying to say. But once you get past that, I've experienced over the last 2 years, once you get past that, I guess you can say some of those barriers, and she has learned a lot of some of the English slang or some of the different things we may talk about here. It has made things a whole lot easier for her to express her feelings and her true emotions to me, just as I'm able to her. So again, I think that's where some of that, fear is still there a little bit, but it's starting to lessen. And again, now getting in touch with people like yourself and Timur is only going to help solidify things even more to move forward.
Good, man. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
So, let me address that a little bit, Luke.
Yep.
Even with this visa and you don't have the language requirement and everything, they're basically giving you 3 years to learn before you apply for permanent residency. However, your wife's concerns about, cultural differences, what's appropriate slang wise, things like that. That's why even if you don't require the test to come here and get this 3-year visa or 3-year residency, you should have a good Russian language tutor who can craft the lessons to you and teach you about the culture as well. A lot of Russian teachers will teach the language, and they're very textbook, old Soviet style teachers, but you need somebody who can craft it to you and your family. Well, gee, I want to be able to communicate there. I want to understand the culture. So if you need teachers, I don't know if Eddie knows anybody. I have a couple of them that we refer people to.
Yeah, he's been gracious enough so far to hand me some information over through our chats, and I'll get your information, Kevin, when we, towards the end of the call, or we all hang up or whatever. But no, I agree 100%. And like the other day when Eddie and I were talking, for instance, and I was talking to her just 2 hours ago before I even got on with you all. Just the simple word smaczny. I mean, you all know what I'm saying right now, and some of the people in the live chat may understand what I'm saying too. But there's also 5 different ways to say that for different meanings of what that is. And that's one of that's another barrier. But again, hopefully over time and learning the language and different words, I'll understand it, because we have our slangs here. We can say, hey, look over there. Hey, I want you to look. It's the same principle. It's just they have maybe one word that delineates or tells the definition of a meaning, and it means something a lot more. And then the other thing that's been a big problem, and I don't know if this is what other people are experiencing or you all experienced when you first started, just looking at the alphabet alone. We're so used to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whereas there it's not like that. It's a completely different looking type of, it's alien. It's like an alien looking. It's just completely different looking to us, and it doesn't have as many letters for our letters, if that makes sense.
There's some that resemble the Latin letters. Go ahead.
Yeah. Eddie made this comment on our last stream, and he and I took a lot of flack for this. Learn the alphabet, and when you get here, you'll recognize a lot of words. Eddie, for your edification, my wife was annoyed over the people giving us a hard time. She said, in the Russian language classes and books that her and my daughter use when they're teaching, they have 2 full chapters of words that are based on English.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just going to teach you. I'll teach you 5 Russian words right now. Telefon, metro, coffee, toilet. Give me one more. Online.
Coffee. Coffee and coffee.
Yeah, same thing. So if you can learn to read the Cyrillic alphabet, you're halfway there. And then the other thing is when I first started to learn Russian, I wanted to learn how can I order food, okay? Because if I can order food in Russian, I ain't gonna starve, baby. So I can survive another day, man. So just teach me how to order food, and it's all good. But
at least you got the Russian McDonald's. So at least you got the Russian McDonald's. So if I'm starving, at least I can find it just from the smell alone,
Yeah, we'll just point at the picture, and said, "Eta," that's it. So
yeah. But no, I plan on learning it and looking at those. I've already started to look at those links you sent me the other day, and of course, you and I will obviously continue to talk about things, and I'll have a ton more questions and so forth. But it's going to take time, and I'm hoping that by this time next year I'm over there, and her and I are together. And the one thing I did when I was talking to her, just in our conversations, that they are developing a huge English or American following, I guess is the best way to say it over there, and adopting a lot of English and American ways in Russia. So she has told me a lot of people there already can speak American very well. It's but again, it's just hopefully in time it will work out.
English has been taught as a second language in Russia since the Soviet time. So it's not uncommon for people to know English. It's just not as wide in the population as you would think. But usually younger folks, people who work in the tourist industry, maybe work in museums, hotels, transportation, have some English skills. But I guarantee you, if you walk into a store, a shop, and just introduce yourself, say hello in Russian, they immediately hear your broken Russian. They immediately know you're a foreigner, and they immediately know you're an American, but they see you trying to communicate. Yep. They see you trying to learn their language, and it is very endearing to Russians because they know how difficult the language is. It's very endearing to them to hear a foreigner try to speak their language. And when they hear you, that you're not embarrassed to try your, like me, when I speak my crappy Russian, that, forget the cases sometimes, and I use the wrong cases, all this stuff. But they see me trying. Yeah. And what they'll do is now they reach back and they start talking to me in broken English because they know, hey, you're not embarrassed to use your broken Russian, then this gives me permission to use my broken English. And guess what? We communicate. Yeah. That's the way it works.
Yeah, and that's what her and I do, because I try, and I'll be straight up. I have a hell of a time trying to roll my R's, and I know that's huge over there. And the way we do that is she has very broken English. I have very little knowledge of the Russian language, but yet we subsidize that with Google. I mean, honestly, and we just play it back and forth that way, and then finally, we figure it out and it works.
Yeah, no. Just keep at it. You're not alone. You're not the only one going through this, and but you will learn more once you're here.
Well, I plan on taking the next step. Just in the short period of time when you and I have been already starting to speak, I definitely will get in touch with Timur, and obviously, with your all's help, that I'll be reaching out and taking the next step forward to come over. I mean, nothing stopping me. Let's put it that way, except for some of the reservations I have. But again, that's it's already starting to be relieved just by talking to you all.
Right. Murat.
So Eddie, yeah, we're an hour and 50 minutes into this, so if we're going to answer,
we're going to start answering the questions. But let me just give a shout out to Murat. Thank you so much. Happy to see you enjoy life in Russia. When I came to U.S. as a graduate student, we were given small brochures about American culture and what a foreigner may find strange. That's a great idea, and I think that I would like to formulate something like that for visitors from the West to Russia. Murat, thank you so much. All right, let's hit some of these questions real quick.
Oh, gee. Where to start? Okay, right at the top. Can a family of 4, parents and 2 kids, come to Russia from Asia? I'm an IT professional with 9 years of experience and a master's degree. Wait for Timur's response. He is the best guy to answer this. Yes, you can. The question would be what is the best way for you to get here? So simple answer for that one. House prices, we've covered this. Depends on where you're going to live. You can buy a house pretty darn cheap in some places and pretty darn expensive in others. If you're worried about price of a house, you don't want to go to Moscow. You don't want to come to the Yalta area where I am in Crimea. You want to be out in, where's Father Joseph at? Nizhny Novgorod? Is that where he's at? No, he's at Rostov Veliki. Things are pretty cheap out there. Avito.ru or Cian.ru. Go out there. You can see prices in different regions, what types of houses you can buy.
This question, oh, wait a minute. Well, we went to that one. Okay. Could anyone complete the translation of the documents, or will professional translators be required? Okay, so when you bring your documents to Russia and they're apostilled, you must go to a notary. And usually the notaries have translation or translators, and they will translate what they work for, and they will translate the document for you. And these have to be, these are official translations. They're on a certain stock, a certain form, in a certain way. And yes, you have to use those.
And they're registered by a number on this special paper in the federal computer system, so that anybody who requires this document, any government agency like immigration, can actually type the number in and see who the notary was that issued it, who translated it, that whole thing. That's how they know it's legal. And this is one of the services my wife offers. We actually work with a notary. We provide translations and notarizations. So.
Cool.
We're both pushing our businesses here.
Hey, why not? Delara says, we would like to buy an apartment in Moscow. Which is the easiest but safest way to transfer money to from the U.S.? You're looking at him. You're looking at him, Delara. In fact, we'll just put the banner up right here, right quick. There you go.
Yep. So ping me in Telegram here, or grab my email out of the About section on my channel, and we can hook you right up.
There we go. The lack of information available makes it difficult to learn about Russia. It would be great if there was an English-speaking boot camp that people could pay to attend with accommodation. Do you mean about learning culture or language? I'm not sure I understand the question. I don't know if there's such a thing like that, but there are many online tutors in the Russian language that you may have to just try it with several different ones to determine, find the one that teaches the way that you need to be taught. Because I've had the old strict Soviet style, and I felt like I was a kindergartner in school. And I was like, I'm so sorry. This isn't going to work out. I'm an adult. And no, I couldn't hack it. I couldn't hack it. Did I learn? I learned, but I hated every minute of it. So I had to find a different tutor. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I took a totally different approach. I've got a real good teacher in Colorado that's a friend of mine. I don't take lessons from her, but her thing when I spoke to her several times was pay attention to the roots of words. Don't worry about the conjugation, the gender, things like that. If you use the roots of the words and you can get a sentence out and you're not putting the endings on it properly and stuff, people will see you're trying. They will make an effort. Again, like Eddie said earlier, it's like speaking to you in broken English.
Just try it. Yeah.
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 American in Crimea, will you do a video or repost Timur's video on what
Oh, Eddie runs out of battery in every show. We got to, everybody donate to the channel tonight so that we can get Eddie a new battery for his camera. So to answer Timothy's question, I will repost Timur's video. I will ask him for permission to put it out on my channel as well. So,
He's back.
Yep. So I've been asking people to donate to the channel.
I could hear you, man. I heard it. Thank you so
okay.
much, man.
Yeah.
We need to do something.
Eddie, I'll send you something over so you can have a better battery.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
So, yeah, I'll repost Timur's video if he gives me permission to, or I'll put a link to it. Eddie and I'll get it in our descriptions, in our Telegram channels. And Timur already sent me the list of documents and such, and we'll get that stuff posted as well.
Same thing here for Jackie. What document a person needs, we'll take care of that.
Okay. Dilara has another question. Does a husband need to be registered if the wife is a Russian citizen? Everybody that lives in Russia has to be registered. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Wow, they're more strict about it here than we are, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Immigration
as it should be.
So the infinite list of countries, I am sure the United States and the UK will both be on it. I can pretty much guarantee you that will happen. But until the list is released, we can't promise anything.
Yeah, and Bernd had this question as well about temporary residency requires about 4 months to get it issued, but this visa will only give you 3 months. I think, Bernd, what they are counting on is this immigrant visa is going to require you to go into the consulate to meet with an immigration officer because they're going to do some vetting ahead of time. And I think that will speed up the process of processing your residency when you get back here to Russia. So my TRP I applied right before Crocus, like a week before Crocus. So it was processed after this attack. Everything slowed down. It took 5 months for me to get my TRP because they went through every application with a fine-tooth comb. So I think it should be better.
Yeah, I can tell you how Russian Federation law is on this. All you have to do is apply for the temporary residency, and you're good. When I applied for my temporary residency, my visa actually expired just a couple of weeks after that. And they give you a little document that says, by the order of the President of Russia, you are allowed to stay in the country while your temporary residency is being processed. Now, if they turn you down for some reason, and quite honestly, I don't know anyone they've ever turned down once you get to that point, you would have to leave immediately after. But in my case, they gave me the little slip of paper. It had a date on it. I still didn't have my temporary residency by that date. They gave me another one. I'm proud. I've got these on the wall over here that says the President of Russia gives me permission to stay. And I couldn't leave anyway because it was during COVID times. I mean, the unmentionable virus. So don't worry about that. You basically have 3 months to get applied.
Right. No language test required for temporary residency. What about for the permanent? For the permanent, yes, you will still have to pass the language history and all that good stuff about laws. But you have 3 years to immerse yourself in Russian culture. So not a problem.
Yep.
Will it be possible to buy land for food production?
Only once you become a
After,
citizen.
yes, thank you. And Charm Superior, can you bring a cat? A pet. I brought a cat from Texas. So
I brought a
my Texas
Dalmatian.
cat, yeah, he's here. So yes, you can.
Yeah, my dog is under the desk. He's an all-American star here.
My cat's usually around here too, but he was excited that I was starting a live and he had to go. He wanted to
So
be in the live.
Yeah, that's where I disappeared, as I had to let the dog out and in. So I'm going to answer this one more time. There is no list of countries yet. It is being developed. We don't know what countries will be on it. Christopher, you can say Sweden is most definitely on the list. No, you cannot say that. Reality is we don't know what countries will be on it. Do not bring your truck here.
Larissa, yeah, please don't, because you can buy it cheaper than you can import it into Russia. Yeah, just it. I know it's probably a beloved vehicle, but no.
And since we were talking about animals, a dog or cat can be imported from abroad with one document, an international veterinary passport. It isn't that simple, particularly if you're in the United States. You have to get a special form from, is it the Department of Agriculture, Eddie?
USDA. Yep.
Yep. And you have
And
to
there's only certain veterinarians that can perform the inspection, and yeah.
They have to give you the vaccinations, fill it out. Then you get to take that form back to the USDA and get them to stamp it and approve it. And once you have that, when you arrive in like Sheremetyevo Airport, you have to take your animal with that passport with all the vaccinations and stuff to the state veterinarian in the airport. So you have to enter into an airport that has a state veterinarian, and they will go over it. They will examine your animal. They will look at the documents. So yeah, as long as you got the veterinary passport, you're okay, but it's still nothing in Russia is simple.
And the airline that you fly, I flew Turkish Airlines. I had to pay $350 for the cat to fly in cabin under my seat. And you have to have a window seat for that. They scrutinized those documents. I mean, I spent 15 minutes and they were just going over everything just before they would put this cat on the airplane. But after that,
you weren't as creative as I was. I mean, I've got this 27 kilo Dalmatian, and I magically got blind. I had no issues the whole way over. Dark pair of sunglasses, and I flew Aeroflot from New York to Moscow, and those stewardesses were so sweet. It pissed my wife off. They're like, "Oh, Mr. Michelizzi, can we take you to the toilet?" My wife's like, "No."
I was actually going to ask a question about, people with service dogs. What do you do then if it's? I guess the question is, does Russia have an adopted understanding that if you have a service animal?
Russia's service animal description is a service animal for a blind or deaf person, period. They do not recognize, my dog is actually a registered service animal, but for diabetes. Russia does not recognize that. You have to be blind or deaf. Hence my dark glasses.
This is for Larissa. We just answered your question, but Bernd here says if you're talking about a Ram, a GMC, or an F-150, they're available out here. It's cheaper to get a used one here than to import your own. Absolutely. I've seen more Dodge Ram 4x4s, F-150s. I've seen escalates here. Yeah, just don't worry about it.
And I'm
The
going
one
to
thing-
say this. Yeah, I'm going to say this because I know who Christopher is. If he's not careful, he'll get banned here too.
Oof. Okay.
Oof. One thing
Nobody-
I will go ahead. You go ahead, Kevin, first.
I was going to say, nobody knows who will be on the list. Nobody. We can make some big bets, but don't push me.
One thing I will agree with, I cannot get over how cheap things are over there as compared to here. It's crazy. I mean, just with her having to go to the doctor or pick something up, we're talking maybe $50-$60 US, whereas that she's paying, whereas here it would be $500-$600 just for an office visit. I mean, blown away at how much how more expensive it is here in the States than there.
Yeah, if you want to buy a foreign vehicle here, it will cost you some bucks.
Mhm.
Foreign vehicles are not cheap here. If you want certain models of Fords, you get them fairly cheap because they're built in Belarus.
Yeah.
Most Japanese cars, they're getting harder to get. They're getting harder to repair because of sanctions.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of Chinese cars coming out over here. Korean cars. We bought a Kia. We paid 16,000 US for it. So it was about 1.5 million rubles at the time we bought it.
Mhm.
But yeah, sell anything you've got over there, come here, buy new stuff. I hear people all the time saying, should we get a container and bring all our furniture and our, my great grandmother's china, things like that? No, don't even bring great grandma's china. Let go of that emotional attachment. Come here, and you can buy somebody's babushka's china from the Soviet Union, and it will last a whole lot longer.
Absolutely. Would it be possible to be an American telehealth employee and reside in Russia? How would I get paid? How would this be taxed? So this depends on your employer back in the States. Would they allow you to have a job while you reside in Russia? And they would probably just deposit your money in an American bank account like you were there, and it's up to you to bring that money here. But this is a question that you would have to ask the employer. But is it possible? Yeah, why not? It's a remote job.
Yeah, I will say a lot of people think of the highly qualified specialist visa. There's 138 occupations on the current list, and probably a third of them are actually medical employees. You will not find a telehealth system in Russia. You go to the doctor. It's cheap. Even on, you get here and you apply for temporary residency, 1,700 rubles. So, $20. Immigration will sell you a health policy so that you can go to the doctor, you can go to the emergency room, things like that. The doctors in the emergency rooms will see you anyway if you give them a little bit of thanks, just a couple of bucks to see you anyway. In Moscow in particular, there's the European Medical Center, all very inexpensive to go to. Private doctors are inexpensive to go to. Drugs here, you buy most of them over the counter. You will not get narcotics or opioids.
But you can get antibiotics over the counter. You can get cough suppressant, things like that. So
you can get most everything, yeah. And then when you get residency, each level of residency gives you a little more coverage. And as a citizen, everything's free.
M. Carver asking, retired English woman living in France. I have a pension. Can I come and bring a dog or cat? Absolutely. We answered that, but yes, you can.
Yep.
Not a problem. Let's see. Can you leave Russia if you are on a temporary visa? And what is the cost to get the 3 months and 3 year temporary visa? So, can you leave Russia on a temporary visa?
What?
So, I think if you're
Once-
talking about the migrant visa, the immigrant visa, you cannot leave Russia until your temporary residency permit has been either issued or denied.
Yep.
Because
And if it-
that's a one-time entry visa. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, and if you're approved and you have your temporary residency, you can leave, but you cannot be out of the country for more than 180 days or you lose it.
Correct. Now, that's
And the cost? I don't know.
Yeah.
Olga has a list of
Olga's list. Yes, we need
Olga's
to
list.
bring that list back. All right, what else we got here?
Let's take this one. Would an individual with a felony conviction be able to immigrate to Russia? It would depend on what your conviction was for and how the immigration people here view it. The guy who can give you advice on that is Timur, because you can speak to him about the specifics and he can give you his opinion. Okay. Alvaro, you have $45,750.24 to invest in land. You can buy land for that here. Let me put that into rubles right now. 45,750 24 times 85 is 3.8 million rubles. So you, sir, ma'am, sorry, whichever, you can buy land in the American village and not put a house on it if you don't want to. I work with Tim a lot on his stuff, so I know what the price of land is.
well, let's see what we have.
Someone has the 3-year temporary residence under the new law. If they feel ready to pass the language law history before this time expires, can they do it earlier to apply for permanent residency? Absolutely. Any time on a temporary residence permit, because once you get the temporary residency permit, you're golden for 3 years. You can take the permanent test. You can go straight to, well, no, you have to get the permanent and hold it for 8 months before you can apply for citizenship. So, yeah, you can do that. How to move money from Canada. Right here. You're in Canada. It's actually just a hair cheaper for you to move money. So, because I go through Canada. I'm not saying that very loud because I don't want another channel shut down. So it's pretty easy. Ping me again, and that is too many things. Ping me here or send me an email. Can you leave Russia and how long? Yep, just answered that one. This is the problem when you guys ask the same question over and over. If one has gone to Ukraine in the past for education, you want to get Russian citizen, can you? Jayanta? Yes. My wife was a Ukrainian citizen. I spent a lot of time in Ukraine in the early 2000s, and that's not an issue. There's a lot of Ukrainians that come to Russia and take citizenship. They get scrutinized even more than most Westerners do. But
wow, interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're next door and they've invaded Russia. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, but still, it's interesting, thinking that they would be, kind of like, here in Canada, it's, I mean, being there and neighbors with them for eternity for the most part. You would, I mean, I understand now because of the war, but even prior to, if they're getting scrutinized like that, because, it's just interesting.
Yeah. You would be surprised the number of neighbors I have that are Ukrainian. They still have Ukrainian passports. They still drive Ukrainian cars. So this is a point for you that you hear in the West, that Ukrainians cannot get to Crimea. They've been thrown out. There's no crossing the border. They're being arrested at the border. I cannot tell you how many neighbors I've got that go back and forth across that border all the time.
And see, that just again comes back to what I said earlier about not getting the right information, being told to us over here, or probably in general, I would say anywhere in the world.
Yep. Conversation points, and friends and family think you're crazy. Go and watch some of mine and Eddie's videos, some of the ones we do together. We've got plenty of talking points on that. So,
Just
go ahead.
I'll just answer that. Send them a link to this video, and the next time we go live, send them a link that we're about to go live, and just tell them, watch these two crazy guys, these two crazy idiots from Russia, because they're going to spill a whole bunch of propaganda. Just do that. I guarantee you they'll watch.
And I tell them to ask questions.
Please.
Yeah. American Village is very expensive. This is an investing option for getting temporary residency. Not really. Koshka, 185,000 US dollars is not expensive for the Moscow region. It's much less expensive than similar cities or towns in the United States. You buy a house in Arizona, you're going to pay a lot more than that for a house with a piece of land. So, when you consider, I have to do conversions here. My wife and I were just looking at fixer-uppers in Moscow. 1, 2 few zeros, 23,000,085. Considering we were looking for an apartment in Moscow, and you're talking $270,588 for not the nicest apartment in Moscow. So when you consider 185 for a house on a piece of land, brand new house, it's cheap. Go ahead, Eddie. You take a few.
Yeah, let me see. Tian Lam says, I have no fear or any apprehension visiting Russia. However, my only concern is whether or not I'm able to leave the States without being blocked from leaving the U.S. to Russia for touring beautiful country.
Don't
unless
worry. Be happy.
Unless you're a public figure with a loud voice and with a big audience. And I'm not talking about 94 like on the live that we have right now. I'm talking a huge audience. You have nothing to worry about.
Yes. My daughter flew here not too long ago. She's going back shortly. I won't be more specific than that, but she goes back and forth all the time. Thousands of people fly into Moscow on a daily basis with no issues from the West.
If one has gone to, okay, we
answered that one. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was scolding them for asking over and over again.
What is the visa cost? Did we answer that?
Nope, because this new visa, we don't know.
We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Lots
The U.S. 3-year tourist visa is $168. There was a fee that you would pay to the visa processing center, which I don't know if still operates or not. So, but in general, it's about under $300. So just budget $300 and you'll be good.
Yep. Now you need to think how to help those foreigners who arrived already for the same reasons. As Timur said, contact him. He is extremely well connected with the immigration officials in Moscow. And as he said earlier in the stream, they are getting questions from the immigration authorities about things like this, and they are recommending, he and other attorneys, Maria Butina, are saying, why should people who are already in the country be penalized? So contact Timur. And I know who Julia is, so she will listen to me. I know this.
Joe Morales is saying the visa is $185.
Sorry.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm just. Well, here's a good question, or not a good question, but yeah, it is a question. Here we go. Can an American enlist in the Russian military?
Sure can. Sign
You
a contract.
can sign a contract, come
For 1
here
year.
and swear your allegiance, and you can serve for 1 year. At the end of that 1 year, you
get
will be granted citizenship. In
But
addition to that, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, but understand, you do not get to pick where you're going to serve. And I found out today that you will serve at the front line.
Okay, that was a good question. Whether you have the language skills or not, correct?
Correct.
There you go.
Wow, that just answered my question. Because former, you all being former military and stuff. Because I know, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if you serve in the U.S. military as a foreigner, you're granted citizenship as well to the States for serving in the military. So it's a reciprocal type of thing that's going on there.
Yep. Regis, with enough knowledge, money, and or power, there's borders between Ukraine and Russia still open. And that's all I will say about that.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. Many expats are going to be disappointed with the new visa, living on savings and going through the hassle. Maybe not worth it. Russia passport rating is very low, only 50 countries visa free. Jackie, I'm going to disagree with you on this. Most people coming here, until they get their temporary residency, are living on savings. So surviving for 3 months isn't that expensive here. If you can find a place to live, you don't need more than a couple $1,000s a month, plus or minus, depending on what you're paying for rent. So the Russian passport rating is not low. There's a lot more. I don't know the exact number of countries, but keep in mind the United States passport isn't so hot in the world anymore either. A lot of countries closing down visa-free travel for Americans simply because they have been using sanctions way too much against others. So BRICS nations are pretty open to us at this point. I can go anywhere I want to right now because I have a Russian passport and a U.S. passport.
That's the golden. Those are the two golden ones.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead.
I hold dual citizenship and intend to depart as a U.S. citizen. However, I plan to enter Russia using my visa-free passport. Could this lead to any complications? Absolutely, it can. Because if you enter on a third country's passport, you will be required to apply on that country's passport. So you don't get to come here on like a UK passport and then wing out a US passport and say, oh, look, I'm on the list. I want to apply. So it doesn't work that way. Your turn, Eddie.
Let's see. We got this question here from Red Top. Let's say your wife was pregnant and we wanted to be there to have children. What would be the cost? Would it be affordable to pay out of pocket? This depends. This is a $64,000 question. Not to be so blunt about it, but you've got to consider that you have to live. If you have other children, that's another cost. If there are complications, then there's medical costs involved. It's a complicated situation. So if you're trying, or if you're thinking about, well, let's go with a child, go pregnant, have a child, use them as an anchor baby, so to speak, in reverse, I would not recommend it. It's just not the way to do it. And
yeah, it's
I discourage that.
Yeah, it's different if you're a citizen here, then it's all covered. How much of that pregnancy would be covered by the insurance policy you get here? The temporary residency policy and the permanent residency policy that the government gives you will not cover it. So you're going to go to a private clinic, a private hospital, and those costs, I don't know. Yes, Jay, I know we've been going on for 2.5 hours at this point, but we said we would answer everybody's question.
Let's see. No issues beyond finding flights. So if you're trying to say that there's no problem ingressing and egressing you can.
Yeah. Timothy, you know how to ping me, and I will give you the name of somebody in the United States. She can get you all the way into Moscow or at least to Turkey. And then from Turkey, you can buy a flight from there. Canada Airlines flies from Turkey. A lot of the European airlines, you have to go through Turkey or Slovakia. So there's ways to get here. If you know the ins and outs.
Here's a question for you.
Go ahead.
When you were traveling through Turkey, did you have any issues? Because I know there's been in the past people did have issues going through just Turkey.
Turkey is a wonderful country. I love this country, and it's very interesting. I traveled to Texas December of 23, came back at the end of December, traversed through Turkey. When I arrived in Istanbul on the way to Texas, I had a layover because I was switching airlines. I needed to buy a visa, a transit visa, to stay stay at the airport for 12 hours. Cost me $30, $35, can't remember. When I flew back to Moscow and went through Istanbul, I didn't need a visa anymore because they had changed the rules. Now Americans can travel to Turkey visa free. So no issue whatsoever.
And yes, you can go through Cuba right now.
As an American, though, can I address this real quick?
Go ahead, because I know what the gotcha is on that.
Okay. As an American citizen, you can only travel through Cuba or to Cuba through certain ports of exit from the United States. I think one of them is like Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I know Southwest Airlines flies through there. And you have to fill in a form that says the purpose of your visit. So your purpose of your visit would have to be to like visit family or whatever. Is it allowed? Yes, but it's just a bureaucratic maneuver, and it could be more expensive for you to go through Cuba. I would rather do, because it's closer to me, if I had to do that route, I would do Moscow to Cuba and Cuba to Mexico and then Mexico to the States.
Yes.
That's
Mexico is
how
the
I would
key.
do it. I would not go Cuba to the US.
So Timothy is clarifying his statement. In response to my daughter had no issues other than beyond finding flight. I had no issues with getting my daughter flights. My issue with my daughter getting flights were of her own creation. I got her a direct flight from where she lives. She actually wanted to travel through Europe to a particular airport in Europe and on to Turkey and then into Sochi. She had different ideas, and at 24, she knows better than dad.
Don't they all?
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm going to answer this one because I gave Travel to World a hard time for posting this 800 times. We'll come on a visit visa or business visa, and after that, apply for a TRP. Can you tell me which base of case will apply for a TRP? Contact Timur. Erica Ray, how do you need to prepare differently when coming to check Russia out? If you're by yourself and you don't know anyone in Russia, know people like me and Eddie. We can put you in touch with many, many, many Westerners. If you want advice, what's your website again, Eddie?
www. Yes, I will put this up. It's www.worryfreerussia.com. But Erica, I will tell you, if you're on Facebook, here's what I would do. And any of you guys, if you're on Facebook, go search for Moscow expats. Moscow expats. Okay, this is a group, a Facebook group. It's one of the first groups that I ever joined back in 2018. And this is where I met many, many wonderful friends. And it's a great source of information. There's a lot of support there as an American, as an expat. And it's a very valuable resource. So Facebook, Moscow expats, and tell them Eddie sent you.
There, I just found it pretty straightforward right there.
Oh yeah, it's a great group. I highly recommend it.
I will.
They keep the riffraff out. It's got good admins. Yeah, great resource.
Yeah, and on Telegram, another one is Moscow International.
Moscow International, and
they have a bit more riffraff, but
Americans in Russia
does a good job. Yeah, Americans in Russia.
Another one. Moscow Settlers. Let's give a shout out to Daniel Bosworth. If you're on Telegram, look up Moscow Settlers as well. Another good group. All right. There's a lot of support, guys, here in Moscow for Americans.
Yeah.
Got this one really quick. Robin, 40-year-old Frenchman learning Russian for over a year, want to pursue a bachelor's in humanities. Learn more about the culture. Can I get admitted to university at my age? Yes, you can get admitted at any age. And there's different ways. There's you can get a student visa and avoid any other issues if you're accepted at a university, but that's a whole totally different process. If you're wanting to come here as to get a temporary residency, and once you have temporary residency, just apply to the university as anyone. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And again, contact Timur because there's a lot of ways you can come as a student. If you get a red diploma, you can apply for, residency or citizenship. I don't know which one. I would recommend coming on one of the other ways and then applying for the uni. So this one, this has been around for a lot, Delara. I don't know why you can't click on the little $ to donate down in the chat. She also asks, could have something to do with the VPN. Could. Don't know. It depends on where you're connected on the VPN. If you're in the United States and you're attached to a VPN in another country, you will not be able to use the donation thing in YouTube.
And Delara,
it's all based on where you're from.
I just want to say this, that I appreciate it. It's not necessary, but if you would like, there are links down in the description where you can donate to either Kevin or myself. Of course, they will not be public here on the chat, but there is a way. And thank
But we
you
will
for
give
the-
you a call out in our next stream if you donate.
Absolutely.
This way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And in fact, I get donations from my favorite viewer here often in these other ways. And, I never mention it on air, so I don't want to embarrass her. But, oh, yeah, Jay knows I mention her all the time. Jay, I know who your employer is, and I seriously doubt they're going to allow you to work remotely from Russia. I'm sorry, my lady. I have other guys that will probably let you work for them, though. And you know who I'm talking about. So, hey, Eddie, 2 hours, 36 minutes, and 42 seconds in. Last question.
Here it is. Is that it? Yep. When is the next stream? When is the next stream, Kevin?
Whenever Eddie and I decide we're going to do the next one. If it isn't before then, it will be on Sunday by way of X/Twitter Spaces. Eddie and I are trying to work out if we can stream to YouTube and Spaces at the same time. We think we have found out a way. We were going to test it today, and we were both too busy to do it. So,
and maybe Sunday stream. I think I had a topic about it, but I'm not sure. It's on my X. Let me see if I can find it right away. Let's see.
So while you're looking for that, one of the current challenges for me in the U.S. is looking for flights to Russia. I'm only seeing connections from Belgrade and Istanbul. Am I missing another connection?
Yes.
Michael, yes. I guess I should put that on the screen. Ping me on Telegram. I don't have the information here. I actually have a wholesaler in Texas that will hook you right up. So, banners, there we go. Again.
Texas, you say?
Texas, Dallas.
DFW.
K. Sanders, International Air Consolidators. They're a wholesaler. You will not get better prices and options. If you want cheap, she will give you cheap. If you want decent flights, she'll give you decent flights. And
why am I first hearing this? How about this now? I guess I didn't ask last time.
This was the first time somebody asked. So,
all right.
Yeah. So we can get you here. I know she has flights going into Moscow and St. Petersburg. I don't know about other cities because my daughter wanted to come into a different airport. We flew her to Istanbul, and then I bought the tickets from Istanbul here and then back again. Cricket, can you live in Kaliningrad? It's a question for Timur, but my understanding is you can live in any Russian territory until you apply for your temporary residence permit, and then you are living there for the duration. Yeah. Questions aren't stopping. Jay, see, I posted about Jay, and here you go. She is number one in my book.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a special relationship because of some things, not anything of that nature, but
I got you.
Yeah.
No problem. I think we've gone through, have we? All the questions?
Nope. I just wanted to comment on this.
Go ahead.
Correct. The Secretary of State of California is not allowed to
Correct.
issue an apostille on the background check. I actually, in Colorado, I could get a Colorado apostille on a background check, but Russia won't take it. It has to be apostilled by the Secretary of State of the United States of America. Contact me, Julia. You know who to ask these things, but so everyone knows, one of those services I provide that Eddie isn't at this point, he will be, because I'm going to give him the information to work with as well.
Thank you.
But I have a company in the United States that will expedite your apostille from the Secretary of State. And if you're in Russia already and you need to get it back here, I've got all the ins and outs of getting it back in time.
Yeah, it is a pain. Now, I will say this: there are some documents that are issued at the state level that require apostille by the Secretary of State in the state in which the document was issued. In my case, marriage certificates, and in my case, it was the letter of non-impediment to marriage. Yes, that is a thing. And each state will have its own document. Mine was just an affidavit that I swear out in front of a notary, and then I had to take that to the Secretary of State's office and have it apostilled. So, and it's accepted here in Russia.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you.
Yeah, when I got married to my wife, we actually got it at the embassy, but the embassy was open at the time.
Well, that's when the embassy was playing cool, you know?
Yeah. Timothy, if anybody knows about mine and Jay's relationship, you certainly know what the basis of that is.
Draw your own conclusion.
And be careful about those cats. You know how she is with those cats, Timothy.
And shout out to Michael O'Donohue. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it. What else we got here? Are we done?
We are done.
Wow. Marathon. 2 hours, 43 minutes. And yeah. Thanks, Eddie. Good luck. What we got? Andale. Arriba. Andale. Arriba. Thanks, Christopher. Have a good night. Buenas noches.
I am the frito bandito.
There you go.
You can buy Fritos in Russia.
Yeah, Lay's products. Absolutely.
Yes.
And Mars candy as well. Maybe next time. What we got?
Noxid 1206 asked his question again. We've already answered it multiple times. We aren't going to address it again.
All right, guys. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us And I will plug this one more time on the way out. Brand new service just launched today. WorryFree Russia. Get an opportunity to spend some time with me one-on-one via Zoom, and we can answer all your questions. We can help walk you through some of this bureaucratic processes. We can help you plan your trip, try to make it easier, and take some of the heavy lifting away from you. So if you're interested, visit worryfreerussia.com, and you get 15 minutes free initial consultation with me. Book it now, and I'll see you guys soon. And I'm going to put this here now for you.
Thank you, sir. And you can go to my Boosty channel. It's in the description below if you want time with me.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, folks. Thanks so much for your time and your attention. Please share this video. This video will be available shortly. Share it with your friends, with your family. Be sure to like. And if you're new here and you've not subscribed to Moscow Photographer or American Crimea or America Crimea, American Crimea channel, do so. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, y'all. Go ahead.
As a parting word, I assure you all that Eddie will work very diligently to break this 3-hour marathon up into small bite-sized chunks for you all to look at.
Yeah. We'll do our best to make some shorts and
look
make some shorter.
Look for them in the next 6 to 8 months. We're working on Russia time here.
Yeah, exactly. No. Actually, a lot sooner. What I'll probably do is cut up Timur's section that he spoke up in the very beginning, and we'll get that out here pretty quick.
Yep.
All right, folks. Thanks y'all so much. And just to have an outro. Пока.